Welcome to Love Bite.
I have been married to my wife, Lana, fake name, obviously, for 8 years now. I met her 16 years ago in elementary school. We started dating in middle school, and we slept together for the first time in high school. In our young minds, we thought we were absolutely in love. Nothing would tear us apart. I grew up in Georgia as a Baptist, where there's a kind of weird Christian attitude about sexuality and all that. I dunno. I've never really been religious, and neither has my wife. We didn't really care, but my parents did. They always got on my back that if I was having sex with this girl, I had to marry her. Her parents weren't as strict about it, but essentially, I was forbidden from seeing her. My parents told me at 17 that I would be kicked out of the house if I didn't marry Lana. Looking back now, I don't think they would have gone through with leaving me on the streets for not breaking up with a girl. I'm pretty sure they were trying to manipulate me into living the life they wanted for me. So we got a courtroom marriage. Her parents were cool with it. They had 3 kids in a room and were glad to have more space in the house. We always talked about having a real wedding one day, but with everything going on in life, we just never got around to it. I got married at 18 to the love of my life, and still got to finish high school and live with my parents. Since then, I've gotten a lot of therapy. I've realized just how horrible it was for my parents, religious or not, to force their own child to get married so that he wouldn't disappoint Jesus by having sex with one person. It's not like I was even trying to follow any of their other standards. Let's fast forward to the present day. A few years later, we moved into our own dingy little apartment. I got a job apprenticing to a plumber to pay rent, but neither me nor Lana could afford school, and my dad was only willing to pay if I went to a church college or something. I've considered it many times, but it's whatever. Eventually, I kind of just stopped loving Lana. It's not that she stopped being physically attractive to me or anything. It's just that over the years she did basically nothing. She never got a job. She never did work around the house. Most days she would just play video games and smoke weed with me, and then we'd pass out or have sex. She didn't cook. She didn't clean. Hell, I even had to do the laundry after work at midnight some nights, just so I'd have something to wear in the morning. I felt trapped. I wanted to divorce her so badly. I talked to her about changing so many times that I feel like I had the same conversation over and over and over. She'd get a job and quit after a month. She'd cook 3 meals in an entire week and then stop for months. These aren't things you find out about a woman in high school. So we started to get a little distant. Sex is reduced to once a month, if that. We didn't even hang out most nights. When I'd come home, she'd be sleeping or way too baked to hold a decent conversation with. In the morning, she would go to Starbucks for coffee and some other baked goods. Sometimes she'd get something for me, sometimes not. Why didn't I divorce her? Well, honestly, it was just about alimony. I could barely afford to pay rent as it is, but by divorcing her, I know she'd get some kind of share of the money I already have an issue keeping. With everything about my parents, I wasn't willing to move in with them, so I just felt trapped where I was. I know of too many stories where people will get divorced and have to pay alimony for the rest of their lives, and that just seems like too much for me to handle. One day while out on the job, I had a panic attack because of everything going on and decided to go home early. I live 5 minutes away from where I was working. I texted Lana on the way home that I would be there soon. Lana answered the door in her lingerie, nearly out of breath. Well, that was suspicious already, but there was no one in the apartment, so I didn't think anything of it immediately. I thought maybe she was having some alone time, and the lingerie helped her get in the mood or something. But that night, it ate at me. I didn't voice any concerns to her. I just let it eat away at me. The next morning, I called in sick without telling Lana, drove off, and snuck back to our apartment complex. I watched our apartment until I saw a Jeep roll up and a man walk out. He walked up to our first-floor apartment, and Lana opened the door and let him in. This wasn't a man I'd ever seen before, but I knew what was going on. I went into my apartment, burst into the bedroom to see them already naked with each other, and took some photos. Ignoring her cries, I packed up a bag with any clothes I could find, and I left. Why am I happy about this? I live in Georgia, where adultery is considered a crime. No alimony for cheaters. I felt like I had the entire world ahead of me as I drove away. I know I need a lawyer, I know I need to cover my tracks and all of that.